Okay, after letting go of labels, what's often left is uncertainty. And you're not spiraling, but you're not thriving either. And that quiet discomfort, that's what in this next lesson it's all about. So it's the space that so many people are in, but rarely talk about, to be honest. And there's a name for the space between just a casual drinker, take it or leave it, and hitting rock bottom. And it's called the middle. Some call it gray area drinking, others don't call it anything at all. They just kind of live it quietly, constantly, and maybe questioning themselves. And this space is where millions of people live, drinking more than they want to, but not quite knowing what to do about it. You're not the only one who's ever said, I'm fine. I don't drink that much. I can stop. I just haven't. I'm successful. I'm not in a ditch. I've got a good life. This isn't really a problem, is it? But I'm still having a problem with it. That said, you're also not the only one who's ever made a plan to cut back or made promises and then poured another drink anyway. Gone a week without drinking, maybe, and then celebrated and overdid it. And then after all of that, wondered, why is your relationship with alcohol? Why does it feel harder than everyone else's? I look at the people around, they seem like they got it together. And this experience isn't rare, it's just rarely talked about. And the people that I hear from on the podcast often say the same thing. I thought I was the only one, but actually you are not, and you never were. So let me tell you about Christina. She was a teacher. She didn't drink during the day. She didn't miss work, but every single night when the house got quiet, the wine would come out. One glass would turn into two, two would turn into four. And by the time she went to bed, she was overcome with guilt. It was like super loud. She never really hit a rock bottom, but she was slowly realizing that she wasn't living the life that she wanted. Let's take another example. We have Wayne. So on the outside, he's thriving. He's got his own business. He's a family man. He's a social guy. But he noticed that every single event, every weekend, every wind down moment involved alcohol. And he started to feel like he wasn't fully showing up. And he especially didn't like how his kids looked at him the morning after. He wasn't crashing and burning, but he was really starting to take notice of his drinking. And then finally, one more example, we have Chris. He didn't drink every day, but when he did, he went hard. And it felt like fun until one day it just didn't. He'd wake up wondering what he said, who he texted, and wondering why he kept doing this. He didn't want to quit forever, but he did want to stop feeling out of control. Okay, so we have these three stories, and as you notice, none of them are dramatic. And most of the real change doesn't start when there's drama. It starts with honesty. And this middle, full of high functioning people, people with jobs and families and relationships, people who appear to be doing just fine, but just under the surface, there's a question that they keep avoiding. Is this really how I want to keep living? And that question, it doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean that you failed. It means that you're paying attention. Because gray area drinking is hard to recognize because it doesn't always come with the obvious consequences. You're not going to have the arrests. There's not going to be a big rehab. There's not ruined careers. But that doesn't mean it's not costing you something. So it might be costing you things like your sleep and your energy and your self-respect and your ability to feel fully present, or just a sense of peace. Because most people in the middle, rehab is not an option. That's not something they'd consider. And they also maybe don't want to quit cold turkey. They don't relate to the traditional recovery models, but they still want to feel better. They still want to regain control. And that's why things like Sunnyside and the podcast that I run over there were created. That's why Cloud9 exists. And that's why this course is here in your hands. This is for people who don't fit neatly into a box. It's for the ones that are tired of wondering, tired of starting over, and just want to feel better on their own terms. You don't have to be perfect to be welcome here. You don't have to drink a certain amount to qualify. You don't have to hit a rock bottom bad to deserve to change. If alcohol has made you feel less like yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, then you belong in this conversation. So If you've ever thought, maybe it's not that bad enough, maybe, do I even need help? I want you to flip that. Think of it as awareness. You're aware enough to want something better. And that's more than enough to get started.